while Iran mourns the loss of its political leaders, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has responded to an arrest warrant issued by the International Criminal Court over war crimes in Gaza. Netanyahu condemned the move, labeling it anti-Semitic. He described the ICC's decision as a complete distortion of reality and asserted that no international ruling would deter Israel from defending itself. Mr. Netanyahu stressed that The Hague had the boldness to compare the Israeli Defense Forces with what he claimed are Hamas murderers. On the other hand, Hamas says it strongly condemns the ICC for issuing arrest warrants against several Palestinian resistance leaders without legal basis. ICC's chief prosecutor Karim Khan says both Israel and Hamas bear responsibility for war crimes and crimes against humanity committed on October 7th in Gaza. In the meantime, Israel's Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, who is named in the ICC warrant, says prosecutor Karim Khan's efforts against him and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will not succeed. He went on to describe the move as despicable. Mr. Gallant reiterated his stance that Israeli military was fighting in accordance with international law while taking unprecedented measures to facilitate humanitarian aid. Mr. Gallant took aim at the ICC chief prosecutor, saying the parallel he has drawn between the Hamas terrorist organization and the state of Israel is awful. He also noted that Israel was not a signatory to the court's jurisdiction and therefore did not recognize its authority. Over in the United States, President Joe Biden has also denounced the ICC decision, stating there is no equivalence between Israel and Hamas. He made this known at the celebration for Jewish Heritage Month in Washington, D.C. Biden said Israel is not committing genocide, but reiterated his call for the protection of civilians in Gaza.
Let me be clear. We reject the ICC's application for arrest warrants against Israeli leaders. Whatever these warrants may imply, there is no equivalence between Israel and Hamas. And it's clear Israel wants to do all it can to ensure civilian protection. But let me be clear. Contrary to allegations against Israel made by the International Court of Justice, what's happening is not genocide. We reject that. We're going to always stand with Israel and the threats against its security.
South Africa, on the other hand, has welcomed the arrest warrants by the ICC. South Africa has been a vocal advocate for Palestinian rights. The ICC's warrants align with the country's stance on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, underscoring its commitment to international justice. Israel is also facing a separate case on alleged genocide, this time at the International Court of Justice, which was brought by South Africa. Staying with the fallouts from the war in Gaza, dozens of graduates at George Washington University rallied over the weekend, calling for an end to the war. Protesters also called for the university to divert from companies that support Israel's military operations. Well, the United Nations estimates more than 900,000 people have been displaced in the past 2 weeks in Gaza as Israeli bombardment continues across the besieged strip. UN spokesperson Stefan Dujarric says Israel's occupation has been accompanied by ground incursions and intense fighting, particularly in eastern Rafah and Jabalia. In the meantime, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is due to make his case for President Joe Biden's $64 billion foreign affairs budget request in full congressional hearings this week. Blinken testifies today in the Democratic-controlled Senate and on Wednesday at the Republican-led House of Representatives. The hearings are expected to focus on Israel policy after Biden earlier this month said he would delay a shipment of bombs to Israel and consider withholding others if Israeli forces launched a major invasion of Rafah. Looking at the protests in George Washington University in Washington, D.C., where students were protesting against Israel, calling for an end to the war in Gaza. They also called for the university authorities to divert from companies that support Israel's military operations.
I'm from the George Washington Student Coalition for Palestine. We're outside of our commencement here today, where our graduating seniors just walked out and joined our rally for Palestine, because what we know is that there are no universities left in Gaza. We know that our university is invested in companies like Lockheed Martin and Boeing that have contributed to murdering over 45,000 Palestinians in Gaza. So we're here today to protest our university's disgusting investments, our university's treatment of anti-Zionist and Palestinian students who they had brutalized and arrested by MPD a week ago. We are here to protest that and stand with the students of Palestine, because 5,000 students in Palestine have been killed and will never get the chance to walk across the stage. So on our special day, on our graduation day, we're here to remember them.
As an international law student and as an international law graduate and someone who's practicing international law, what's going around, and we are advocating for human rights, as we are here advocating for the Palestinian cause and their right on their land. As we are abiding to international law, we're not abiding to anything else, and what I'm speaking and everything is out of my mouth, it's accordance to international law. And I'm speaking that as a jurist, someone who knows the law, what's going around in Gaza and Palestine in general since 1948, all violated. What's going around now is an extreme genocide in accordance to international law.
The Independent Commission for Aid Impact says diplomatic efforts have so far been ineffective in securing access to get enough aid into Gaza to address the mounting humanitarian catastrophe as the Israeli invasion into Rafah progresses. The ICAI says the UK has contributed to a significant international humanitarian response to the crisis, committing more than £70 million in extra funding since the Israel-Hamas war broke out in October last year. But humanitarian experts have said that restrictions of movement in the delivery of humanitarian assistance and repeated military strikes on aid convoys by Israel being met with ineffectual criticism by key donor countries, including the UK, had the potential to damage trust in the international humanitarian system.